And I read that and I thought, whoa, you know, that just sounds like kind of blanket guilt here. There's there's something in the Muslim community that's threatening us. What is it?
Well, something from within. And I've said time and time again, the overwhelming majority of Muslims are outstanding Americans. But at this stage in our history, there is an effort to radicalize elements within the Muslim community. And I've said when we were going after the mafia, we looked at the Italian community, the Westies, the Irish community. In New York, they go after the Russian mob. They go into the Russian community in Brighton Beach and Coney Island. And right now, there is an effort, and this isn't just me saying this. Eric Holder said he stays awake at night worrying about the numbers of young Muslim men who are being radicalized. But
do you worry about, and let me ask you, Congressman, do you worry about that message being sent to Muslim Americans, that there is an investigation going on because there's a threat within the community to their country, essentially?
I worry about it. Everybody I talk to worries about it. And we're concerned about the breadth of this. I mean, I think that it's absolutely the right thing to do for the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee to investigate radicalization. But to say we're going to investigate a religious minority in a particular one, I think is the wrong course of action to take. I mean, taking up on the chairman's point, you know, look, if we're going to talk about gang violence, I don't think it's right to talk about, you know, only the Irish community and the Westies. I think we talk about gang violence. I think if we're going to talk about organized crime, it's not right to just talk about the Russian community.
But if you're going to talk about the influence of al-Qaeda, does that not take, I mean, I'm assuming that's what you would say, and I'll let you say it, is that you're talking about the influence of al-Qaeda, not just terrorism in general. Is that...
Right, we're talking about al-Qaeda, we're talking about the affiliates of al-Qaeda who have been radicalizing, and there's been self-radicalization going on within the Muslim community, within a very small minority, but it's there, and that's where the threat is coming from at this time. To be having investigations into every type of violence will be suggesting an equivalency that's not there. I mean, Eric Holder is not saying he's staying awake at night because of what's coming from anti-abortion demonstrators or coming from environmental extremists or from neo-Nazis. It's the radicalization right now in the Muslim community. Janet Napolitano said 2 weeks ago when she testified before our committee, the terror threat now is as high as it's been since September 11th because of domestic radicalization.
Congressman Ellison, why participate if you're worried that this message to the Muslim American community is a bad one?
Because I believe in engaging the process. I think you've got to be involved in the conversation. You've got to offer an alternative view. And I do plan on saying that I challenge the basic premise of the hearings, that I do agree that we should deal with radicalization and violent radicalization, but that singling out one community is the wrong thing to do.
I know there's this specific definition of terrorism, but if you're one of the people that was shot in Tucson, Arizona, along with your colleague, Congressman Giffords, that seems like an act of terrorism. So why is the influence there not in your purview, or why isn't in this investigation?
First of all, the Department of Homeland Security was set up after September 11th. The Committee on Homeland Security was set up after September 11th. And we're talking about a radicalization in this country which is linked to an overseas enemy. This is al-Qaeda internationally is attempting to recruit within the United States. People in this country are being self-radicalized, whether it's Major Hassan or whether it's Shahzad or whether it was Zazi in New York. These are all people who are identifying in one way or another with al-Qaeda or al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. So it's an international movement with elements here in the United States. And to me, that is a real distinction. But there's always going to be isolated incidents, isolated fanatics, isolated terrorists even. But an organized terrorist effort to me is different, which requires an investigation into itself.
So, you know, I think the problem here is, do you already have an idea of what you think is wrong, correct? I mean, you believe that Muslim American leaders are not cooperating enough with law enforcement. Is that correct?
I believe not enough. But I'm starting off with a number of hypotheses and theses that I believe in. However, what I want more than anything is to have a national debate on the issue, which is why I welcome Keith Ellison coming in.
What does the debate do? I mean, what do you want to know? Why have it? I'm lost as to why. Because so many people say this may fuel Islamophobia. This may make leaders in the community less likely to cooperate with the government, because it kind of looks like the government's after them when you hold these big old hearings.
I would say let people watch the hearing and decide then. I think the hearing is going to be very productive. It's going to go forward, and it's going to talk about something which is not being talked about publicly, which I think should be.
Well, let me say that, you know, Anwar al-Awlaki, Osama bin Laden, all these people are the enemies of all Americans, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, all. And I don't want them to be able to stand up and claim, you know, see, we told you America's at war with Islam. That's one of their main recruiting arguments. That's why I think that we need to be careful about how we use the instrumentality of the government in investigative hearings.
But Al-Awlaki is not calling my kids. I mean, it's not. I mean, you know, Al-Awlaki is you know, targeting Muslim Americans. I mean, I'm assuming that's a point of focusing on this.
I'm glad you made that point because let me be clear. I think that it does make sense to talk with people in the Muslim community about how we can meet the challenge of public security. I do think so. I think it makes sense to talk about internet, confronting ideology of people like Anwar al-Awlaki. I think where he's trying to exploit and misuse Islam, we should counter him with what Islam really does say. And so I do think that there is a place for that. I just think it doesn't make sense to narrow in on a discrete insular group that has already been the target of a certain amount of discrimination.
I want you both to hang with me a minute. We have to take a quick break. These hearings begin on March 10th. We'll talk more about what the congressmen expect to come out of them right after this.